The choir actually formed in 1919, but of course there was a break during the World War II, and they started back then. And if you're going to talk about the life and times of the Beaufort Choir, I think that both Mervyn and myself are qualified. Mervyn having done 67 years?
61 years.
61 years, and I've done 42 years. And I think we've often said to each other, it's not what it used to be. Being a village, had a very full village life, quite a lot of churches and quite a lot of singing in the churches. And of course, when those people joined the Beaufort Choir when it reformed in 1948, a lot of the people joining came from the churches and they'd had their musical training there. It's interesting to note also that I think that in the life of the choir, we've had 14 different conductors, and a large percentage of those did their musical training in the chapels and the churches.
At one time, we were really about 120 on the books, and over the years, they've died and left the choir, and there's no youngsters coming into it today. This is the pity of male voice singing. There's 5 choirs, I think, within a radius of 6 miles around from here. That's Ebervale, Cwm, Beaufort, Tredegar and Blaenavon. And I don't know whether Blaenavon is still going, but everybody is struggling today. Struggling really hard to get choristers to join the choirs, but nothing is happening, which is a very sad time.
A number of years ago, it was nothing for us to be doing concerts home and abroad. We went to a number of countries touring overseas. That, I'm afraid, probably because of the economics of the things, that probably has changed and we don't do those same. And it's a pity because we had some wonderful tours to Germany, Holland, Ireland, France, and to miss those, it's a real pity for the younger choristers coming in.
We've Beaufort Choir, I've sung myself in 2 nationalised festivals, one in 1958. A year or 2 back down here in Ebervale again. I'll always remember one of the tours that we did when we went to Germany. We were singing in a monastery. We went up. There was another choir, a German choir on the stage.
The chemical choir.
And they were singing. And they sang a couple of pieces. There was no applause, nothing at all. It was just dead silence. And we thought, oh gosh, this is going to be one of those. Anyway, they come off, they did their thing. And we went on and we sang the first piece. And the audience was on their feet. They was applauding and goodness knows what, cheering. And I was after only one piece. And I think we are the only choir in the world who can say we've sung in Cologne Cathedral on 3 occasions. We done our performance twice and we got thrown out once. And I don't think there's another choir in the world can say that.
You were saying about achievements, and we said about the National Eisteddfod. Well, they did win. Beaufort did win the National Eisteddfod, Welsh National Eisteddfod, in 1926.
One of the tales that we had, we were practising in Barham Chapel just over the road, and there was a small field at the back of the chapel, some windows in it, and there used to be some sheep. And we were there in practice this one night, and Randall Williams, he turned around and he said, well, he said, you were sounding like a lot of sheep. And with that, a sheep put his head to the window and went meh. And he said, there you are. He said, even the sheep agree with me. We've gone away with the choir, no end of occasions, and coming back on the bus. And you've got to stop for toiletries. And of course, in those days, there wasn't any services. It was just a case of pull in by your driver. So anyway, the bus pulled in and did what we had to do. And when we got back on the bus, one of the chaps come back in the bus and he had an armful of cabbages. So it's things like that you keep in your mind. One tale I can say is a very dear friend of mine. He used to sing on the corner by me, and his wife gave me a book. It was handwritten, and it was from the 1926 strike. And there was a choir there that went from Beaufort. There was about 12 or 14 of them. They had a few pound there, and they had this couple of pound, and they went to Bristol and they went to Bath to try and get money for shoes and boots for the children, because everybody was on strike. Of course, the miners was on strike. And they went into the city, hats on the floor, and they were just standing around singing. And they went up to one house. It was one of these mansions, and they knocked on the door. And the chap come to the door and he said, "What do you want?" And Hubert said, "Excuse me," he said, we are from South Wales," he said, "and we are trying to get money for boots and shoes for the children." And he turned down the chap of the house. He said, "Go from here," he said. He said, "I want nothing at all to do with you." He said, "It's because of you," he said, "that I'm losing money." He was a coal merchant. So they turned around and they started to walk down the roadway, and the chap's daughter came out. She said, "I'm awful sorry," she said, "about my father," she said, "you." And she put a couple of shillings into their hand. And that was one of the tales. And another tale was they were looking for lodgings. And they turned down and the policeman said, "Look," he said, he gave them an address. He said, "Go there," he said. And he said, she'll put a couple of you up anyway. And they knocked on this door and a lady come out. She said, "Yes," she said, "I can put 3 of you up." So anyway, I forget how much it was, about 6 months or something like that. And they went in, they had a night's sleep, and they had a breakfast in the morning before they started off to go into the city again to start singing in the towns, in the centre of the city. And that's things like that stick in your mind.
Obviously, being a village, and it was, the choir was everything. I mean, most families had someone in the choir. Getting people to join was no problem. and it played a very important and active part of the village. The village has changed, but the relationship has also changed, not in as much that we still represent Beaufort, still proud to be Beaufort, but it's different. And I think, hopefully, if we had a number of younger people from Beaufort coming into the choir, it would reinstitute that quick, good relationship we had with the village.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether that'll ever be.
They don't, there's no, how can I say, they don't seem to come into the choirs now as they used to.
One thing we ought to mention, mind, and hopefully it may pay dividends, of course, Tim Rees-Evans has started firstly only men allowed, and now he's transferred to only boys allowed. And I think he has said many times what he intends or what he hopes is that these young lads will go into the only men allowed, and they set up these sort of academies to improve the youngsters, and there's certainly you've seen them on telly. He's hoping that the benefits of that will be that as this goes on, more and more of these younger ones, as they grow older, they've got the training for music, will sort of subsidise what we've always wanted to do. The smaller choirs make them bigger choirs, and the bigger choirs maintain their strength.
I was in a remembrance service yesterday morning up in Willertown School. There was a young lad there. He sang 2 songs, beautiful voice. I can't think of the name of the one song, but the one song he sang was Bring Him Home. And he sang it beautifully. And I said to him after, I said, you keep it up. Don't go by the wayside, you just keep on singing. And you'll thoroughly enjoy it, and he will. Depends, of course, on when his voice breaks, whether he's going to be a non-singer or a tenor, a baritone or whatever. But he sang it well. That's the sort of thing that we want. Youngsters coming up so far and then join the choirs to keep the male choir singing in Wales. Other than that, I'm afraid in years to come, not so many years ago, hence anyway, that they will turn round and they'll say, oh, there's no male choirs in Wales now. They're gone. Which is going to be a big pity.
Standing